Hey guys, Jake with 8020 Media here. My F350 right here has the 4R100 transmission in it, and I have an issue with the EPC solenoid. To get to that, I have to go ahead and drop the transmission fluid pan. So in this guide, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to drop the transmission fluid pan, as well as how to replace the transmission fluid filter and to replace the gasket that comes on it as well. To do that, let's go ahead and talk about everything that we're gonna need. First of all, I've got the F350 up here on Rhino ramps right now. It just gives me a little bit of extra clearance. And then in terms of parts that we need an oil drain pan or drain pan. This is a 15 quart one. Now this transmission does hold 15 quarts of fluid, but unless you're doing a full transmission fluid flush and you're draining the fluid out of the torque converter as well, you're not gonna get 15 quarts out of there. If you're just dropping the pan and doing the filter replacement, you're only gonna probably get about 6 to 7, maybe 8 quarts of fluid that are draining out of there. So a 15 quart pan is perfect. And then I've got just 2 gallons of my STP ATF automatic transmission fluid, which 2 gallons is 8 quarts. That should be plenty for as much as it's gonna come out of here. So we've got our fluid, we've got our pan, and then all you need is a transmission fluid filter. So here's the filter. It comes with a gasket. Once you pull your transmission pan off of there, it's gonna have a gasket on it. There are 2 different types of gaskets. One of them is removable and reusable, and one of them will have to be replaced. And so the kit does come with an additional gasket on it. But if you have the ribbed style of gasket, you can reuse the ribbed style gasket. I don't know if mine has a rib style gasket on it or not, but I do know that I am leaking some transmission fluid down there, so I'm just gonna go ahead and replace it with the one that was supplied with my filter kit as well. Now I'm gonna go ahead and jump under there and show you guys the process to go ahead and drop the transmission. All right guys, so here we are underneath the vehicle. Here is our transmission pan right here. As you can see with mine, it is pretty wet under here, so I'm pretty sure my gasket is definitely leaking on it. I'll go ahead and show you the gasket and show you the differences between the two once I pull it off of here. But so this is the 4R100. The 4R100 has a drain bolt right here. So once I remove this, all of the fluid will come draining out of it. If you have the E4OD, there is no drain bolt on it. And so what you have to do is undo all of these bolts around the edge, and then you'll want to leave one in right here on this side. And then you'll leave one in down here on this side. And then you can slowly loosen this one and it'll slowly drop the pan, and that will drain the fluid down as you lower that pan. So here we've got a ton of bolts around the side of it. There's really nothing you have to do other than first drain the fluid out of here, and then remove all of these bolts around the outside, and then the pan will come straight down. All right guys, so I went ahead and got the pan down. It's just those 15 or so bolts that were on there that are all 10 millimeters. And this is what it looks like once you get it down here. This orange thing right here is the solenoid pack. That's what I'm gonna be replacing since I have an issue with my EPC solenoid. But for the purposes of this video, what we're gonna be doing is taking this oil filter off right here. So here is the transmission pan pulled out of here, and here's the gasket on the ground. So you can see with this gasket here, this is the same style one that came with the new filter kit that I purchased. What I was trying to explain earlier is there are 2 different styles of gaskets, ones that are completely flat and look like a normal gasket like this, and then some that are ribbed. It should make it a little bit more clear. So there's a ribbed style gasket and then just a standard gasket. If you have a ribbed one, it is technically reusable, but mine only has this on it, which is a one-time use gasket, and mine was obviously already leaking. So we're gonna go ahead and use the new similar gasket that came with the filter kit here. Another thing to point out here is right down here is a magnet that picks up any dirt and sludge that's within the transmission pan. So if we look at that, we've got a ton of buildup in here. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get that completely cleaned up, clean up all of the outside edges of this pan so that the gasket seals up nicely. Everything cleaned out of here. Clean all of this sludge on out. And then I'm gonna get back underneath the vehicle, show you guys how to pop the new filter in place. And then from there, it's just bolting it back up. So I got this cleaned out as best I could. I used some brake fluid cleaner just to try to clean up the edges, make sure they were completely smooth so there's no issues with the new gasket. Cleaned up all of the sludge in here. And just the one thing that I know I mentioned, but I didn't show you, it does pull up. And so you will want to pull it off, clean everything off of this, and clean all of the grime that gets stuck around it as well. So now I'm going to jump underneath the car and install the new filter. We are back underneath the vehicle on the other side of it, right in front of the transmission filter right here. So it's just held in by a little gasket or seal that's up there. And so it's pretty easy to get it out. You're just gonna want to grab on that back corner, wiggle and pull a little bit, and it should pull just out like that. And then in terms of installing the new one back in there, all you're gonna wanna do is lube up the gasket just a little bit, and then it goes right back in this hole, and you just need to give it a little bit of a push like that, and it should go right back up in there. So it's really easy to do. It comes out super easily and goes back in super easily. I just did that right here with one hand. No problem. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one off, put the new one back on there, and then once the new one is back on there, the next step from there is just getting the gasket onto the transmission pan and then bolting the pan back up to the top. Once the pan is back up here, we're gonna go ahead and fill the 6 to 8 quarts of transmission fluid back in here, and then it should be good to go. All right, guys, just to round out this video, I'm gonna go ahead and show you where the transmission fluid goes on an F350. This should be the same for any 1999 to 2003 F250, F350 with a 7.3 power stroke. If you're 4R100s in an F150 or a different Ford vehicle, it will probably be in a different location. But on the F350, it's actually this right here. And so you have an extremely long dipstick to read your transmission fluid levels, and then it goes right there into the hole. And it's very difficult to actually get it to go in there because, as you can see, this hole does not stick upwards, it sticks outwards. And so you'll have to use a pretty long cone filter to feed all of the fluid back in there. Anyways, guys, that covers it for a video on how to replace your transmission filter and flush your transmission fluid for the 4R100 transmission. If you guys appreciate this video, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for our future content.